Hi, friends! We are back with the wonderful crew here for some more Star Trek Initiative after shore leave last week. We hope you're all doing well. Let's go around and catch up with everybody. Darby, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much. How are you?
I am good. I am excited to be back to Trek.
Yes, me too. Me too. Yeah, can't wait to see what's next.
And we have the wonderful Aram. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me.
Looking forward to this evening, meeting up with the Federation commander that you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have the wonderful Jordan. How are you doing tonight?
I am so good. I am awake. I've had my tacos. I've had my caffeine. And after the last session we had of this game, I'm so ready to play again.
Good to hear. And we have the wonderful Raven. Welcome back tonight.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Having a couple extra Ractaginos today for sure, but otherwise doing great.
Good to hear. And last but certainly not least, Max, how you doing? Welcome back this week.
Thank you. I'm doing very well. Super excited to get back into it. I missed everyone last week, so this is going to be great.
And thank you so much to everyone coming along to join us on another adventure as I send the crew out into even more trouble. Don't forget, you can interact with the stream if you want to help out the wonderful crew here. You can make sure you retweet the going live status to try and get those wild magic surges that we all love so much over here and introduce the chaos elements to the game. Don't forget that down at the bottom below, you can tip and donate to the cast here in order to give them banes and boons. You can grant them automatic successes. You can take a look at the panels below for the little bits menu there. And if you find anything fun, anything silly, anything hilarious, great moments, don't forget to clip those and post them in chat. Let us know that you've clipped it. We love watching those back. And keep an eye out for the poll that will be coming up soon as well. And don't forget, if you haven't seen the other Star Trek Adventures videos that we've done from the last few weeks, you can go over to the YouTube to watch this and all of the other Encounter Roleplay shows back there. And if you're watching this from YouTube, hello, thank you so much for joining us. Big shout out, obviously, to the sponsor tonight, Modifius, who makes Star Trek Adventures, and a whole bunch of other wonderful sponsors that we have that Past Charlie is going to be able to tell us about right now.
Before we begin today's show, I would like to take some time to remind you about our sponsors. Fantasy Grounds, our virtual tabletop of choice. All of the beautiful maps and roles you see tonight are done using Fantasy Grounds, which you can try for free at fantasygrounds.com. You can also get all of your miniatures from Wayland Games. Go to waylandgames.co.uk and get yourself a huge range of D&D, Warhammer and 40k minis for up to 20% off regular retail price. And Tabletop Loot, who sell incredible dice. Go and check them out at tabletoploot.com.
Thank you, Past Charlie, for telling us about all of the wonderful sponsors over here on Encounter Roleplay. So now we get back to the adventure at hand. It's been a bit of a journey for all of you since your last mission. It's taken a good week or so of travel to reach the orbit of Ashgrave IV, the planet that you have been personally requested to attend to in light of its recent issues. Some of you may have taken some onboard leave in that time. Some of you may have been working the entire time. What you do know is that as soon as there was talk of visiting the planet, many crew members, especially those with more religious beliefs and backgrounds, requested shore leave. So you know that this is both going to be a potentially tricky mission, but also one that perhaps will bring a lot of peace to some of your fellow crewmates. You are currently making your way to the transporter room, along with your captain, who is also coming down to the planet in order to meet with the Federation governor Governor Chahal, who Siltek, you know, from some previous experience with this person, having met them before back at your academy days.
Right.
Your captain turns to you, the same very straight-laced Vulcan expression that you have become accustomed to. For any of you who don't know, this planet is a place of pilgrimage for people of many cultures. And she looks around at a couple of people, notably you, Ro, and you, Tristan, coming from cultures and backgrounds that hold religion in some high standing. This is not Federation space. This planet well, we are in Federation space, but this planet itself does not belong to the Federation. It is neutral. We cannot be heavy-handed in our mission here. There is more at work than just the issues that they are having on the planet. There's a lot of diplomatic accords held very finely in place, as you might put it. In fact, the only way that armed conflict was prevented over this space was declaring the planet neutral. I would ask that all of you conduct yourselves as Starfleet officers, but remember that we have no true jurisdiction here. And pushing too far in any one direction could cause a diplomatic incident that is worth more than all of our positions. She gives you a very stern look, and it's very matter of fact. We are going down to meet with the Governor Chahal, who is a Federation governor stationed here to represent us. Siltek, I believe that you know this person.
We are acquainted from the academy, ma'am.
I see. Well, for those of you who have not been on diplomatic missions before, take this as a learning experience. And you will step into the transporter and you are beamed down. As you beam down to the surface of Ashgrave IV, you arrive in an open plaza in the center of what you know to be the only colony on this planet. The rest of it is uncolonized and is a wild space. It can be quite mountainous in regions. There are lush open greens, but you have arrived in the center plaza. This place is bustling with activity. If you have been here before or you have heard of Ashgrave, which certainly some of you would have done, you know that this is a shared planet by people from all backgrounds. So here there are a number of shops selling religious trinkets and paraphernalia. There are places here that are selling food, that are selling supplies for people that perhaps are taking longer pilgrimages. Further off out in the distance, you can see buildings that are almost certainly residences for staying, whether they are hotel or resort-like in nature. And you see everyone around you, there is a sense of peace, this sense of calm. The few people that do kind of pass you as you are adjusting your uniforms and as the captain gets her bearings, offer you various blessings and polite greetings in all manner of natures. You also notice the wide variety of species here. Ro, you spot some Bajorans, you spot Bajoran religious iconography. Tristan, even you spot some Betazoid iconography at some of the various religious stalls here. You know, there is even Vulcan iconography, Trill, Tellarite, various human religions as well. It's a huge melting pot of all of these cultures in one. But the one thing that you do all notice is in that moment as you adjust, the feeling that washes over you. There is a sense of calm, a sense of peace, and it's powerful. You feel the shift in yourself in that moment as you land. There is less tension. Perhaps worries you've been having seem to relax a bit, and as there are 5 players, you gain 5 points of momentum to your momentum pool because of this.
Nice.
Tristan, you get this feeling even more so than anybody else here, this sense of overwhelming peace, happiness, It's very strange to land on a planet knowing you're going into a tenuous diplomatic situation and feel this level of calm just by being here. Quickly, the captain begins to make her way towards what you can only imagine must be an administrative building. And as you approach, you can see the Federation logo on a plaque on the outside, marking it as so. Some words are exchanged at a desk, and you are led to an office. The office is stamped with the name Commander Chahal. And as the door opens and you step inside, the captain offering you to walk in first as a matter of courtesy, and she follows behind. Sitting at the desk in this office, it's a large open space with a huge window behind that overlooks what looks to be kind of like a garden area of some kind. And there sits who you can only imagine to be Commander Chahal. Siltek, you have seen this woman before. Tell me, what does she look like?
I think that she's older. She's got a head filled with gray hair that's incredibly neat and always pulled up and very carefully arranged. Everything about her is immaculate. Her dress is immaculate. The way she holds herself, her desk, everything has its own very individual place, and anything that is out of order is quickly set in order. And that's kind of how she treats people as well. Like, that's her general vibe.
Yeah, and you notice this as you come in. She was writing something, and she places the pen down out of courtesy and looks up as you enter, but then very quickly adjusts it and puts it into place in the pen holder on her desk and straightens the papers. And she stands. She looks across all of you. Welcome. You are most welcome here on Ashgrave. She looks at the captain. I thank you for responding to the call. Siltek. Congratulations, I see you got your commission.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You've come a long way from your academy days. I am very pleased to see you standing here before me, part of this crew. Yes.
I'm pleased to be part of a crew, ma'am. Thank you.
She turns to the captain. From all reports that I have heard, you have a stunning crew here. Hopefully, you will be able to help in the issues that we are having. Please, sit. And she indicates there's only 3 chairs in this office, but those of you who wish to sit do. You know your captain will not. She stays standing, hands neatly folded into the small of her back. She looks at all of you. You notice this. She doesn't direct all of her speech to the captain. Her eyes constantly sweep across you, as if she pauses on each of you for a moment as she speaks, as if she's assessing something or making some kind of judgment. We have ourselves a bit of an issue here on Ashgrave. As I'm sure you know, the planet is not Federation jurisdiction. It is a neutral space, which makes dealing with issues here sometimes very tricky, to say the least. There are always tensions, as there are whenever you get such an abundance of religious culture in one place. But recently, the usual tensions that are not too much of an issue have grown worse. There are a group of pilgrims on the planet who have grown militant. This usually isn't a problem. There are always those who have incredibly strong beliefs in comparison to most, but recently they have taken to violence. Something that is very rarely seen here and is often dealt with very swiftly. No lives have been taken, thankfully, but they have attacked some of the tourist shops, those selling trinkets, paraphernalia, religious icons. They claim the Creator wills it so, and that the faiths on this planet must become pure, but we're not really sure what it is they're talking about. They don't seem to be affiliated with any of the known cultures that we have here. They come from different backgrounds. I'm deeply worried that things will escalate if this group is not stopped. If they worship some other being that is not as well known on this planet, we are perfectly fine with that. We just wish an end to any future violence. All that we know so far is that they are led by a woman called Annalisa Duval, a new member of the community here, but in her short time, she has been very outspoken. Now, I've always been for more people visiting this planet. I've always been for opening it up to anybody that wishes to come here or wishes to insist it be a pilgrimage for them or their people. But this group that she's part of, that she leads, has got no name, but they are now calling themselves the Voice of Purity. And you can see the confusion as she talks and the uncomfortableness that she doesn't have more information to give you. They are insisting that everybody on Ashgrave bring their beliefs in line with theirs. The violence is what we have an issue with here, I must stress that. And although Starfleet often does not get involved in matters here, the threat of violence is enough, I believe, for us to step in without causing any diplomatic incidents, at least for now. And she looks at the captain. Do you, or your crew, she looks back at you, have any questions so far?
It
I've
does
got
seem
one.
like we lack. I'm sorry, please.
You go ahead, sir.
I'm just worried about security would be my first concern. It sounds like that's one of your concerns as well. And my questions would be, if you lack information, what steps have you taken so far to gain some on this sect?
Well, security, yes, is our concern. The last thing we need is violence on this planet that perhaps would drive others to the same cause. For the most part, since it was declared neutral, we have had very few incidents of violence, and most of those resolved very peacefully and reasonably, and was often an issue with misunderstandings more than anyone trying to actually cause harm. We lack the ability here to do planet-wide scans, but I have had some Federation guards here look in to see if they could track the group down. So far, we have the location of their old colony, where we believe that they are hiding. There's some hills not too far from here, riddled with caves, and that's where we believe that they are currently. But as I said, we can't do a planetary scan to pinpoint them entirely, but I believe your starship has those capabilities. There are very few people here with access to armed guards. The only weapons really carried here are those of ceremonial or religious purpose. Most of them not even created to be able to cause harm, blunted blades, etc. But, so I would ask you, be careful if you are carrying weapons, that you do so respectfully. The last thing we want is anyone thinking that the Federation is trying to make claims to the planet, especially behind the scenes. What I would like is for you to speak to this group, locate them, and insist they stop the violence of their activity. Perhaps even that they come and speak to somebody about how they could be best represented here on Ashgrave. But the violence will not stand. Any further questions?
I got one. So I'm assuming this is a sort of don't shoot first situation?
I would say this is more of a sort of try not to shoot at all situation, if possible.
Right. I was afraid you were going to say that. I'll be on my best behavior.
I will say this group started out peaceful. Their violence has never been against other living beings. Just as I said, some of the shops and their wares. And from what we can tell of their beliefs, they seem to have a lot in common with many of the core beliefs of most religions present on this planet. The issue is that nobody takes very kindly to being told that their faith is wrong, especially when there is such a fine balance here between most communities. It's quite harmonious. Something upsets that. well, it can start to spark questions. And we quite like the Federation and many of the other consulates on this planet for this place to stay neutral so that all may come and enjoy pilgrimage here. Track them down, see if you can convince them to stop their violence. If you must arrest them, then so be it, but a peaceful situation is what I'm looking for here. And she looks at you, Siltek. Siltek, you know all too well and have heard the stories of horrors of war and what happens when beliefs clash and things get violent.
Yes, I have.
It's part of the reason that I even found this crew to begin with, was looking to see how you were doing, since it had been so long since I'd heard from you. Judging by the background of many of the crew here, your captain, I thought perhaps you were all the right ones for the job.
You have picked well, ma'am. My crew, these men and women that I serve with and for, are the best. It's been an honor so far.
Of course, any of your crew who are not involved in investigations are more than welcome to take shore leave here, providing your captain agrees to it. We have set up an area of which they can partake in any activities they need to, as well as rest and vacation stay for them if they wish. And the captain thanks her profusely for this.
I have a question. Are there horses?
You are informed that there are horses. They are often used for pilgrimage out into the more wild areas of the planet that are not part of this direct colony. But yes, there are horses.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Does anybody have any further questions? If not, I will direct you to my aide outside who can give you the information that we have received about the Voice of Purity's whereabouts. And the captain looks to all of you to see if there's anything to ask, and if there is none, she nods, thanks the commander, and moves to exit. You find your way out back into the hallway, and the captain looks at all of you as she's handing kind of briefing notes back and forth between the aide out front, who's clearly giving this information over. Well, I need to be back aboard the ship to speak to command, and also get in contact with perhaps some of the other commanders on this planet representing their various cultures and nations to ensure that they are kept up to date. Much as I would like to go on this with you, I don't believe it is wise for a captain to be absent from her ship when such diplomatic tensions could quickly rise.
Ro kind of raises her hand and interjects something and says, well, Captain, it would be in Starfleet protocol for you to be on an away mission in the first place. So I'd much rather you be safe on the ship.
You are correct. And there's almost like a slight smile to the edges of the lips as you've quoted protocol at her, knowing her to be a fan of it. You are correct. There are very few instances where a captain should be with an away team, and I do not believe that diplomatic incidents are one of them. I would ask that you conduct yourselves as you would as Starfleet officers here, but do remember, we have no actual jurisdiction. Should I hear any reports of anybody causing a disturbance or distress, I will have you beamed aboard the ship immediately, and I will launch a full investigation to the extent of my powers, especially if it causes issues diplomatically for Starfleet. Am I understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Captain.
Yeah, Captain.
Yes, Captain.
And she hands over, who is our most senior ranking officer here?
I think it's Malco.
Marco, she takes the pad, scans over the information, and looks up at you. Well, Lieutenant Commander, here is the information that you need. You are the senior officer here. I expect you to hold everyone to the same standards that I would should I accompany the away mission.
I will do so.
Sure. ensure that all of you report in when appropriate. And should this go well, I'm sure that there is a promotion in store for some of you. And she flicks her eyes across to you, Malco, across to you, Siltek. Brief glances over to Tristan and Illyria and Ro. If we can solve this problem, I'm sure there are many at Starfleet who would be grateful. But I will leave you here. I will keep you updated on any diplomatic changes in the situation. She very quickly leaves. You imagine to be beamed back aboard the ship.
Yeah.
You
Ro
have
kind of looks over at everybody. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Ro just looks over at everybody and goes, well, it sounds like a tough mission, but I mean, brownie points with the brass is always a positive, right?
Always. Hear me out. If we can't act directly, what if one of us was to go undercover as one of these religious members?
I was having the same thought, honestly.
I thought so. Same
We
mind.
can, absolutely. If we can work out how they're recruiting new followers, perhaps that's a way in.
It's not a bad idea.
Bear in mind, you are still nearby the commander's office should you wish to go back and try to speak to her. You also do have her aide who is out here, who appears to have some information as well. Or you can head off into the plaza, and you obviously have the location of where they believe the old commune or colony of this group is, where they are hiding currently.
Are we going out in Star Trek uniforms? So we're going out officially as Star Trek personnel, or are we addressed as civilians?
So you will still be in uniform. So you can walk around as officers here. People would have been notified that the Federation have become involved. It's just a case of, unlike on Federation planets where you would have the outright right to, say, arrest somebody or to declare a lockdown or martial law, etc., you don't have those same rights here. So anything that you do in terms of enforcing an official capacity either isn't technically official and could also rock tensions if viewed to be unnecessary. But for the most part, your presence here is known.
Okay.
Could we
It's kind of
choose
like-
not to wear our Starfleet uniforms?
You would have to ask permission from your captain to do so.
Okay.
It's more of a thing of like, if you're a police officer outside of your jurisdiction, you still have all of the rights that you do as a police officer. It's just, it's not entirely your call at the end of the day. And should you do something which people don't agree with in their jurisdiction, you could be in a bit of trouble. It's kind of like that. But there's no need for you to be secretive about you being Starfleet officers or here dealing with the situation itself. What do you wish to do?
It sounded like there was a last known location for this group, correct?
Yeah.
Would make sense to investigate that if that's the one real lead we have. The only other way would have them come to us, which would mean like going out into like the largest plaza in the area where people might join, and then like one of us in civilians, right? And the rest of us like act all like, you know, hey, we're Star Trek coming to rough you up and bother you about your religion. And then maybe when we leave, they'll come up to that person and be like, hey, listen, you should come talk to our group, right? So I see two options, really.
Something tells me we should go with the first.
Yeah, probably. I'm saying the second was really a Hail Mary, but you know.
As you're having this conversation, Chahal's aide he leans over the desk. He's a young man, probably barely in his 20s. He leans forward and says, I would also go with the first.
Right.
Much as there is a lot of preaching in the square, that kind of talk might have you arrested by somebody. Not sure who, but somebody I'm sure would take a dislike to it. And he kind of like hurriedly then goes
raises
back.
her hand.
He kind of looks at you confused as to why you're raising your hand. He's not sure if he should go back to work or if you're indicating to him.
Oh, Alira awkwardly, like, kind of starts, like, stumbling over her words. She's like, oh, I meant, like, I would arrest him for, yeah. And then she, like, backs up because she's very uncomfortable now.
He goes to say something. He looks at your rank pips on your uniform. It's like, very well, and just goes back to his work as he realizes that he's just talked to a whole group of senior, like, Starfleet officers, and maybe out of place, and just kind of sinks back into the chair a bit and carries on, like, tapping away. But if that's what you wish to do,
Ro,
go ahead.
I think Ro might lead over to the aide and be like, they're officers, you get used to it. I have to live with this every day, don't worry.
Oh, okay. He just doesn't know what to do. Like, you know that awkward thing where you interject and you say something and you're like, I don't know if I should have even spoken. He's having that moment right now. But if you wish to head out towards their last known location, you can do so. Siltek, much to your joy, in order to get out there, you have 3 options. You can take the pilgrimage walk, if you wish. There are some vehicles that you can take, or there is the option of horses.
We're getting horses. Horses? Show hands.
Horses.
Alira gets really wide-eyed and turns very pale.
I'm telling you, it's not that hard. I rode them my whole life. This is a what? If you guys have never been on one, look, it's my. Do we even use money? We don't. Do we? We just like a horse, please, and we're trusted. Like, how does it work?
I imagine that you could probably, as Starfleet officers, be given some horses on the condition that you return them.
As a Starfleet officer, I assure you, I am good for these 5 horses.
Ro's gonna look at Siltek and go, damn it, Lieutenant, I'm a pilot, not a rancher. I don't know how to ride these things.
These horses take old women and old men and young children out into the deserts and out into the woods all the time for pilgrimages. We are perfectly safe on board these horses. Trust me. I guess 5 horses.
Alira is
All right.
frantically looking for another option nearby. She really, really, really does not want to ride a horse, but she doesn't want to
There's like
admit
a
it to
perfectly-
everybody.
There's
You
a
know
perfectly
that
good
where you-
boat, right? That's going exactly where we're going, and Celtic just walks around it with 5 horses. Here we go.
You have the moment where you regret not turning off further down the street about 15 minutes earlier on the walk towards this place, where you saw the sign that advertised vehicles for rent, and instead you are now standing here as Siltek comes around leading 5 horses, helped by the polite owner here, who appears to be Vulcan. They are not quite the Earth horses that you're used to, Siltek. They are still horses. It looks like they have been bred off planets. You can see that there is some slightly strange patterning to them. But for the most part, these are horses. You are assured these are essentially the same as Earth horses. They are a
that
little...
word is tricky. Essentially, they
Essentially.
are almost
They are-
the same as horses.
They are workhorses, but they are much taller, so probably more akin to what Earth would consider a Shire horse. So they're quite
Yeah.
tall, quite large, very
Giant.
muscular horses.
So I come up with the largest horses possible. It's 5.
It keeps getting worse.
All of you are offered a help up onto these horses. Does anybody protest? Or does everyone just get on?
Me, I protest.
Oh, you'll be fine. I assure you. I'm
But,
like
like,
checking everyone's stirrups and making sure they're all on right.
The saddles
She
are very
protested
comfortable.
She protested a very, like, nonchalant way. Like, she's not going to get on the horse, but she's also not going to make a huge scene about it.
I'm imagining Illyria is standing there really awkwardly by the horse, like making no attempt to get any closer. And the Vulcan here kind of looks back at you, Siltek. I assure you, officer, that this is a very fine horse, well controlled, well bred, well trained. You are in absolutely no danger. Hundreds of visitors use my horses. I am yet to have an injury.
Lyra doesn't really know how to get out of the situation now. And considering she's non-confrontational, she's just gonna resign herself to riding the horse. But she gets on, and she definitely is like, doesn't know what to grab. So she just kind of lays down and hugs it. Like you know, like you're sitting on the saddle.
As you're trying to get up, this Vulcan, who is quite tall, says, "May I offer you help here, officer?"
Yeah.
And he directs you how to throw your leg over the saddle, and as you hug the horse, he comes around to the side and kind of points to where you should be holding on, how to hold the reins. Because I assure you, these horses are well trained. They will not kick. They will not buck. You are perfectly safe.
Alira's just silently nodding, really wide-eyed. She's trying to be nice, but she really just can't. Like, it's so hard. She's so scared.
Let me assure you, and he walks around to the rear of the horse, and Siltek, you know what's about to happen. He very lightly, not damagingly, smacks the horse on its rear end. And Siltek, you would expect here a horse to kick, buck, bolt. The horse, the tail swishes, shakes its head a little bit, turns it slightly, but otherwise remains perfectly still, Illyria.
Right. So,
as I said, they are very well trained.
Right? Illyria still looks like all these facts aren't changing the fact that you look scared right now. Is that fair?
The horse is not a robot. I have a problem.
Right. Okay. So I would come around to the front of the horse, right, and like very gently take the reins on the front and turn to the Vulcan and be like, what's the horse's name?
The horses do not understand human commands. I did not see a reason to name them.
Understood. Okay. This is Abigail. Okay. Now, Abigail, I've seen a lot of horses, Lieutenant. I've seen a lot of horses. And Abigail's a good horse. Abigail has a sweet soul and a big heart and just wants to go for a walk with you. And I think that you're going to enjoy this walk with Abigail.
Okay, let's just go. She it's inevitable. She's riding the horse. There's no option. She's tried everything in her book. Like, she's given up. But she appreciates, she kind of pats the horse on the head and is like, "Hi, Abigail," and is very confused.
As you pat the horse and kind of stroke, the horse nudges its head upwards back into your hand before returning backwards.
That's kind of cute.
I hop
She's
up
calmer
on
now.
And we ride like nearby Abigail so that I make sure everyone's all right.
These horses are, in fact, very well trained. As you set off, and I imagine Siltek kind of leading, Illyria, I don't know if your fears are calmed, but Abigail, as the horse has now been called, begins walking out of the paddock area slowly, and once you are in open ground, moving towards that hilly area, all of you can pick up to a nice kind of trot or canter, and she's very responsive. As you try to move out of the way of kind of more patchy ground, slight hint on the reins, and she knows where to go. There is nothing inherent.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
As we're riding, Illyria starts out like muttering to the horse about how she really doesn't want to ride the horse, but like as the journey continues, she's like becoming friends with this horse because this horse isn't talking back, which is the best kind of interaction for Illyria. And so she's like gradually like changes the conversation from like, "Oh man, I really, like, I'm sure you're nice, but I don't want to ride you," to like, "Oh my gosh, this, have you heard about the newest technology back on the spaceship?"
I imagine there are a couple of points where you're complaining about something on the ship, and you swear the horse brays in response to you. Like you express like a disinterest or an upset about something, and you hear come through as you're trotting. You're sure if this is just something that you're
aren't
now.
giving us enough circuit breakers.
Yeah, you're not sure if
like 10 minutes off to the side.
You're not sure if this is something that you're tricking yourself into hearing to make yourself feel better about the experience, or if it's just the horse being the horse, or if it's some kind of odd response. But I imagine it's oddly comforting. As you begin to approach the hills in the direction you have been charted, as you come upon the area, you can see where some of the hillside, like the natural caverns, it looks like that they have been smoothed in places. There are not quite buildings, but there are small areas that have clearly been constructed for habitation or for storage. But at the minute, you don't see anybody as you kind of approach. It's almost like a clearing in front of like a hillscape where you can see these caverns dotted. But there's nobody here that you can see immediately.
The tricorder's out. Scan
Okay.
front of life forms.
Okay. Go ahead then and make
Hop
me an
off
hop off the horse. Go ahead and make an insight plus science test for me then, please. This is difficulty 1.
Insight plus science. Okay, so I have 10 and then I have a 1. So I'm rolling 2 20s and trying to get under 11, correct? I'm sorry. I totally forgot how to play.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right.
All right, good. I got a 1 and a 19.
So the 1 is 2 successes, so you've got an extra point of momentum. So you now have 6 momentum in your pool. Your momentum pool is now full for you to use.
Nice.
You start scanning, looking for life forms. You don't see any life forms as such. What you do pick up is a strange energy reading that appears to flicker in places in the landscape before you, appearing to kind of coalesce before vanishing. And then in that moment...
That over to the science officer.
Okay. As you
Lieutenant,
do this,
I want to take a look at this.
you look up and you can start to see figures appear out of thin air, as if out of nowhere, beginning to move towards your position. These figures you see, all of you, especially those still on the horses, as you've got like a height advantage here, can see humanoids. About 2 meters tall, but it's hard to tell as some are on all fours. Deep, thick red skin, vicious horns. Well, on some resemble a bull, and on others resemble curled ram's horns. You can see, even from the distance, as they quickly begin to close towards you, sharp claws, teeth that overhang out of the mouth. As you hear the horrific noises, the squeals, and the screams that they make. Who did you hand that tricorder over to, and are they still interested in looking at it?
Right. I had imagined I could just like send the data over to their tricorder, like there's a way to share it, like a Dropbox or something. So I would just kick it over. I was assuming to Malco.
Okay, Malco, this pops up on your tricorder just as you two notice these creatures. What do you do as they begin to rush towards all of you? 5 of them in total.
Setting phaser to maximum stun.
Rose doing the same thing.
Do you wish to look at the information, or is your focus elsewhere?
I think I would look at the information first.
Okay,
He's got it. I draw a phaser.
As soon as you notice it and you flick your eyes down, you're still seeing on your tricorder the live scan happening. And it very quickly appears to you that as that energy reading coalesced and vanished, it was at that moment these creatures appeared. But, however, they are running towards you. still take off of your horse. So it is you that they reach first. As you see one of these creatures, this horrible, visceral image of this humanoid, which is on all fours as it comes at you, tearing one of its claws towards your face. This is a melee attack, so you do get to oppose it.
Jeez. Okay.
This is going to be daring and security, and it's difficulty 1. And I am going to spend a point of threat to roll 3 dice. You do have a full momentum pool. So let's see. 12, so I'm looking for 15. So it's only 1 success. So providing that you can defend against this,
I believe I can, so I'll roll my
should be
2.
fine.
And I'm a little bit taken by surprise, too. Oh, nice. A 2 and a 9. The 2 counts as 2 successes. So
2
3
successes. Okay, so it's difficulty 1. I didn't earn any momentum. You have 2 points of momentum, but obviously your momentum pool is full.
Right.
But because it's a melee attack, you get to hit it. So go ahead and roll for your unarmed strike here. As the claws come towards you, and tell me what it is that you do as you get your attack in.
Okay, so as the claws were, so I was pulling my they just got to me faster than I expected. Couldn't even get my phaser out before one was on top of me, so I just kind of rolled with it instead of trying to block it or stop it towards me. I rolled with it, just hurled it to the ground beside me.
Go ahead, make that unarmed attack roll then for me with your damage.
So I would roll for that. I'm sorry.
It should be on your sheet, I believe, but if not, I can look it up here.
I see. Unarmed.
So unarmed strike.
Knockdown, non-lethal, and there's a 5 next to it. So what do I do for that?
So you're rolling 5d6s.
5d6. Sorry.
Yeah. So if you roll any effects, which are 5s and 6s, you'll actually knock it prone as well. But the attack is non-lethal, so you can't kill anything with it. That is a nice roll. So the 6 is an effect, so it is knocked down. But it's also a point of damage, as is the 2 is 2 points of damage, so we're at 3, and then the other 2 is another 2 points of damage, so we're at 5, which is pretty good. And that is enough to cause it an injury. The 4's a blank, unfortunately. As it goes down, you hear it go down hard. You expect to hear a crunch or a crack, but instead you hear this horrible sound as it skids across the floor, landing not too far from your horse, that in reaction doesn't bolt or bray backwards. It actually, with a hoof, kicks out in front. As the creature hits it, you hear this crack as the creature then lays there motionless. However, you still have 4 more coming towards you. I'm not going to hold the initiative, so it's over to somebody else to act. Who would like to go next? Who is the next to react?
I have a thing I'd like to do.
Go ahead, Ro.
So I think Ro, having a talent for diffuse the tension, is going to sort of fire her phaser in the air and then point it to the rest of them and go, all right, that's enough. Like, she's very clearly being intimidating, going, if you approach any further, I'm gonna fire, is her body language.
Okay.
And what would I roll to intimidate them into standing down?
Here I would say presence, and if you're using the weapon threaten them, security. If you're trying to go it through more of the authority in your voice, I'd let you use command. One thing I will ask, does Ro wear any religious iconography? That is very obvious.
Not.
She does not. Okay. Go ahead.
She's actually very uncomfortable with religion. So presence and security.
Mm-hmm.
So that's target 13, just so I can remember that. And then it's Guy 3d20 because of diffuse the tension, if I'm reading that right.
Yeah. I believe so. I can double check for you. Diffuse tension. Yeah, you get a bonus d20. So that's one success
so
you have
one
there.
success.
One success. I am going to roll with them to see if they respond to it. And I don't have that against their insight. And they don't get anything to... They get 1 to that. It's a very low target number. That is only 1 success, and you are the active character, so therefore you win. As you call this out, and for a moment, they keep going. But a couple of them, you notice at the back, as you call this out, they begin to slow. They come up from all fours and they stand. Not quite intimidated in the sense that they are moving backwards. The other 2 are still continuing, but in that there is almost a standoffishness. You have said something and made yourself look powerful, and it is now attempting to do the same, almost in that kind of like stare down. But you seem to have, for now, captured the attention of those 2. You have 6 momentum in the pool. If you wish, you can hold the initiative on your side. Somebody else from the crew can take a turn. That costs 2 momentum. Or you can me and the strange creatures that appear to be attempting to launch their assault. What would you like to do?
I think holding momentum's a good idea here, unless anybody objects. Okay, we'll hold initiative.
Okay. So that's 4 momentum left in the pool, and it
Could
is
we
up
spend
to
2 momentum so Malco could check on the one that got hurt by the horse, see if they can stabilize it or anything? Like, can we spend some time to make sure that creature doesn't die?
Yeah, I mean, you can spend 2 momentum, and that allows somebody on your team to take another go. So if you'd like that to be Malco, that's fine. Because obviously initiative here is a lot more fluid. It just passes back and forth, whoever you wish to take the turn.
Sure.
So yeah, Malco, you can
If
take.
we get
You can
that
take
much, we might as well do whatever we can to save that thing.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Malco, it's up to you. You from your horse can see the 4 creatures ahead, and the one that is laying in front of Siltek's horse has now taken a few cautionary steps back after kicking the creature that skidded towards it. What would you like to do?
So I will step off my horse, kind of keep both my hands up in a non-threatening gesture, and make my way over to the body that is on the ground, and try and see if they're okay for the most part, because I would imagine a hoof to the body didn't feel too good.
You go over to the creature. You notice it is breathing, but what you would consider to be unconscious. It doesn't appear to have taken any damage that you can see. There's no... You'd expect a bruise or a lump where the horse has hit it with the hoof. That's not present. There's no blood. As you turn the creature over as it's laid kind of half on its side, you get a closer look. Thick red skin that is cracked in places, almost leathery. Vicious horns. The horns on this one come out at the top of its head into sharp points. You can see the teeth are sharpened. There are claws. How much do you know about Earth or religious history, Malco?
Probably not too much. Spending most of the time in a medical situation.
You know, I would say I know a decent amount. Growing up in ranches in Montana, I probably at least heard tale, you know.
And you probably would have done, actually, especially in somewhere like that. As Malco, you look at this and it bothers you. There's something about the look of this creature that doesn't look right. It doesn't look like an alien life form that you may have seen at Starfleet. You feel like you have seen it somewhere else. The creature is, as far as you can tell, alive and mostly unharmed, aside from being unconscious. Siltek, you're starting to get a growing feeling that you have had creatures like this described to you before. But we'll get to that on your turn. Is there anything you would like to do, Malco, as you're looking at this creature that's sparking something in the back of your mind?
I guess, would it be possible to maybe roll to see if I can figure out what is kind of...
Yeah, go ahead. Roll me insight, and I'll let you science for this one.
Okay, so target is 14.
Difficulty, I'd say difficulty 1.
Okay, then I will hold off on using momentum. Just go with the 2 dice. So that's just 1 success.
What, just 1 success? Okay, that's enough. You did roll a 20, but I'm going to bank that threat for now. As you're looking over this creature, it's the horns that catch your attention. And you remember it once. You were at the academy, you were talking to somebody, and they were giving you a talk on religion and science. As part of the Starfleet training, you also had to be slightly versed in the idea of other cultures and how they might view particular medical practices in relation to their beliefs or their culture. And you distinctly remember being described demons from a culture that believed that illness was caused by them. Though this doesn't look exactly what you have described as you glance over to the other 4 approaching, they all bear classic resemblance to what would be described by some religions as demons or devils. That is what it reminds you of. Is there anything else that you wish to do?
I don't think so at the moment.
Okay, so it hands back over to me because you've already held the initiative once. And these creatures are slowly gaining ground. Ro, you can see 2 are fixed on you as they're kind of seething, and you can see like there's a building here between the tension as you're holding their gaze, while the other 2 move upwards. One goes towards you, Illyria, on your horse. As it runs towards you, screams, and let's see what it does. This is a melee attack, so you can try and defend against it. I'm going to spend a point of momentum to roll 3 dice. So you can spend some momentum to roll more than 2 if you like, and you're going to be rolling daring and security. That for me is 15. So that is 2 successes, but I get a complication. So would you like to roll any extra dice? You're muted.
I do that a lot. Okay, how many momentum do we have?
Currently you've got 4.
Okay, I am going to use 1 because this is terrifying.
Yes. Yeah.
So 3d20?
3d20, and you're looking to beat 2 successes.
Okay. Oh no, I got all of the failing. Every single one.
Okay.
Oh, this is goodbye, cruel world. Okay.
I have to ask, do any of the crew wear any religious iconography? Because I did roll a complication.
I do not.
Well, not necessarily religious. If knowing he was coming down to this planet, Tristan would have worn one of his Betazoid sort of sashes. But I don't know if that would be considered super religious or cultural.
Okay. So, Illyria, as it comes towards you, it does get a hit in. How many dice am I rolling? 4. Let's see what it does. Luckily, only 2 points of stress is all you take. As the claws graze, mostly they catch your uniform, which is torn kind of across the front through the upper layer of the fabric. Because it's TNG, you've got the kind of neoprene stuff. But it just catches on the underside of the chin, one of the clawed sides. And as it comes
Which
up
side
to
of
you,
my face?
whichever side you like.
It doesn't matter. I do already have a pre-scarred side of my face. I'd like to keep it to that side of my face. Just
then it's
kidding.
that side. It's not
Okay.
deep. It's more like a slash. But it's not massively deep. It just grazes you.
Okay.
It does more damage to your uniform than anything else, as you can now see. It's ripped all the front lining, leaving you with the kind of the back of the neoprene. And
Is Abigail okay?
Abigail is
important
fine.
Thanks.
The horse is fine. Yes. And as it slashes across the front, as the moment of the momentum has passed and the thing is now staring it into your face, you have this overwhelming feeling of dread. This is what the complication is. In just that second, you are reminded of an event in your past, in that moment, that makes you feel hopeless. What is that moment for Illyria?
When she was but a young one on it was her first ever time on her own on the ship. She had a childhood friend that had been like a close family friend for many, many years. And during the course of their first journey with their crew, this individual got caught up in the wrong crowd before they left and ended up trying to sabotage the ship to strand them all in an effort to do what was right. And it was one of the biggest betrayals she had ever experienced. It is a large portion of the reason why she does not trust people, is because someone who was so very close to her ultimately tried to kill her and everybody involved with no concern or no consideration to the fact that like they had her entire trust and her entire hope. And it was extremely devastating, not only socially but psychologically to her, and is shifted. It's why she is who she is and why she doesn't talk to people.
It doesn't last long, but there is just a few seconds as this creature looks into your eyes. You feel this memory surface. The feeling that you are on this planet that was supposed to be safe, that's a haven, a site of pilgrimage, and there are these creatures that are now rushing at you. But it only lasts for a second before something else. It's like the feeling that you had when you landed, as that surges back through you, that odd sense of hope, as the memory descends again back into the depths of your mind. And that first feeling you had when you first landed here, that strength, comes back. It's just a split second, but it was the oddest feeling as that creature almost stared into the depths of your mind. However, that creature also suffered a complication. So you tell me, what would you like to happen as it finishes the swing and breaks your gaze? What complication does it suffer?
Ooh. Okay, I have a question if I can.
Mm-hmm.
It's not okay. So when that memory stirs in her brain, after she experiences like the down, she gets angry. So I feel, can she like literally just like guttural scream at it and it kind of be like startled?
Yeah.
Is that something I can do?
Yeah, you scream back at it in anger, maybe even fueled a little bit by that hopeful feeling that rushes directly afterwards, like when you first landed on the planet. Not only the anger of the event, but the hope that that will never happen again. And in that moment, as you scream back at it, it takes a few steps back and looks startled. Like it wasn't expecting there to be something other than just pure anger. Like it wasn't expecting that to come so deeply or viscerally to it as it begins to back off. I am handing back over to you. So I believe that so far, Ro has taken a turn, Malka has taken a turn. I think it's Tristan, Siltek, and Illyria now who haven't yet taken turns. So who would like to go next?
I can go, I guess.
Go ahead. So you've got one of these creatures backing away from Illyria, one unconscious by Siltek's horse.
Yep.
You have two who are currently in this strange standoffish stare-off with Ro as they begin to kind of puff out more, and one that is still coming towards you all.
Okay, I imagine Tristan's been pretty quiet since we got the horses, because empaths and animals, like, he's trying really hard to not just go like horse brain with the sort of empathic connection to this thing. And then everything now with Illyria and all of this, it's all a bit much for him. But I think he'd try and see what kind of sense he gets from these creatures, first and foremost. If he can reach out empathically or telepathically and
You can.
see what he feels.
Go ahead, make me an insight plus. I would probably say here either command, science, or medicine. It's up to you, kind of what approach Tristan is taking to this. So I'll leave that up to your decision.
Okay, I'll go insight command, I think.
Okay.
So it's 16 to beat. Okay. Okay, 2 successes.
That is enough. You are thrown into this strange, dizzying feeling. Voices. It's like a sea of voices. For a split second, it's very difficult to maintain this connection, but they're calling something out. You can't tell if it's confusion or if it's just the effect of hearing this chorus. But for a moment, there is the sense of chaos. Sheer, unchanged chaos. Before it is too much to comprehend, and something almost doesn't quite force you out, but that connection breaks. It's just too vast at this moment. But you feel like there is more you could dive into there.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if that's it for what I can do on my initiative turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. As you do that, as you're so focused in your concentration, you realize what's broken it as you start to hear shouts, screaming, and Siltek, you are closest kind of to all the action, and you can hear what's going on. You can hear the sounds. The Creator wills you gone. You are banished in the name of the Creator, as voices start to appear, not from people start to appear, not from the hillside where the caves are dotted, but actually from behind you, from some of the other kind of rocky outcropping ground that leads off into other hills, as these people rush forward. They are dressed in not quite tattered clothing, but there it doesn't appear to be a uniform. There doesn't appear to be anything that identifies them as a group apart from the fact that they are together as they rush forward, and you can see that they are holding objects in their hands. It's hard to make out what, as they rush towards these creatures. There is a woman who almost pushes past you, Illyria, to the creature in front of you, as she places her hand out in front of it and screams, "You are banished in the name of the Creator." And more people come flooding through, and you watch as they shout this, as they scream this, as they push their hands forward. The creatures begin to rear back, hissing, almost in fear. Ro, even the ones that were standing off with you that didn't quite dare to step forward begin to rush backwards. And in a moment, you see the creatures turn tail, rushing back into like the cavernous entrances in the hills before disappearing. And Malco, since you have the tricorder, the life signs of these creatures disappear. The one in front of you vanishes before your eyes. As the life sign, the energy that you're spotting that was pinpointing these creatures as being present, just disappears off your tricorder. It's like watching a blip of a ship or something on a scan, and then it just goes blank. You don't see it move away, it just disappears. The one next to you, Illyria, or in front of you, turns round and grabs you by the shoulders, and she looks into your eyes concerned as she sees the expression on your face. Are you all right? Did it? And she touches the cut across the bottom of your jaw. Oh, I've got something I can give you for that. It didn't harm you anywhere else. As she looks at the torn kind of top layer of your uniform.
She kind of is startled by someone grabbing her, but it isn't until she reaches for her face that she jerks back and like catches herself and then goes, I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't mean to startle you. That's quite a nasty cut that you have there. Is anybody else harmed? Check the others as she talks to the people around her, and they come up to you. One walks over to you, Malco, as you're still kind of, I guess, half crouched over where this body was and is no longer, and he kind of puts his hand on your shoulder. Are you okay? It didn't catch you, did it? Didn't harm you?
No, and kind of almost snapping out of the realization that this thing is just gone. He'll look around and probably see Illyria with the cut on her face and just start to kind of quickly make his way over to just check on her.
The woman herself, she kind of steps back from Illyria, sensing your discomfort at how close she is. And she kind of looks at all of you, including Euro up on the horse and you, Tristan. She says, is everybody okay?
Reholster my phaser. We're all right. Thank you for your assistance. Who are you?
I can explain all of that soon, but it looks like that you might need somewhere to put down for 5 minutes. Those creatures are not easy to deal with, and they can be quite terrifying. The demon attacks are getting worse. Please, follow us. We have a camp not too far from here. And then I can answer your questions and explain everything, and we have medical supplies. I'm sure one of you is a doctor, I imagine. She doesn't know who to look at. She kind of scouts around. And the others you see... Yeah. The others of the group you see kind of, they appear to be looking around for anything to pick up. It's possible that some equipment has fallen off a horse, or somebody's dropped a tricorder kind of in the spur of the moment, and it's easily picked up and handed back to the nearest person. The woman looks at you, Illyria, and says, I don't think it would be wise for you to ride. It's quite a nasty shock that you had by the looks of it. Please, walk with us. You'll be safe, don't worry. And you see, she taps at something on her chest. She's wearing what looks to be some kind of crudely forged medallion. It looks like it once had some other iconography on it that has been pounded out, as if someone's taken something blunt and round to it and repeatedly hit it to kind of bow it in slightly, and it's had a symbol carved. She says, you'll be safe with us, as she taps it. Please.
Illyria, her demeanor is kind of shifted to less like hide in the background reserved and more like very concentrated and very focused and very serious reserved. And so she's gonna nod her head and get off the horse, but she's not gonna verbally respond to anybody right now.
See, the woman takes note of your demeanor. She doesn't try to get as close to you as she did before, but she still stands beside you at a reasonable distance. But you can see that she just begins to talk as you are led by this group towards their camp. And Illyria, you get the sense that she's just making polite conversation. Something that will mean that you don't necessarily hyper focus on every little sound, but just something in the background that would be calming. She has a very calming voice. And you can stay hyper-focused, but it's the kind of thing that stops you twitching your head at every boot crunch or every time a horse shifts a little bit in a direction. As she's just like, the experience can be frightening, I know, we've seen them many times, and the attacks are getting worse, but you are safe with us. The symbols protect us. And it's just that kind of thing. There's nothing specific that she says. They're just more words of reassurance that you are safe, you know, that the demons do not come near her group. As you are led back to this, what looks to be crude camp, you spot some handmade shelters that look similar to the ones you saw previously. As there's a small fire going, as you are invited down off your horses. Well, thank you for putting your trust in us. You are right to do so. The Creator does too. My name is Annalisa. I am the, not quite leader of this group, but I am the one that is spoken to most often. What you witnessed back there was a demon attack.
I'm sorry, you said spoken to?
By the Creator, yes.
I see.
We recently came to understand that the amount of differences between faiths on this planet have begun to cause the Creator great pain. This is what has been communicated to us. And as a result of this pain, these demons have been appearing in greater numbers. They've attacked our camp, but always driven back by the symbols that we hold. And she taps this medallion on her chest. She offers you to sit around this kind of crude campfire that you think has been lit more for ceremony than it has for warmth. It's still daytime, it's still bright, and the climate isn't particularly cold.
I'll take a seat.
The true message of the Creator has been diluted. At nobody's fault, of course. All of the religions here are both right and wrong at the same time. The Creator is frustrated, confused by all of this. I tried to speak to somebody in the city, but Chahal, she wouldn't listen. She didn't want to prioritize one faith over another, and I understand, but they just won't open their eyes to see that it is all one and the same. If we could just do that. But this is why you're here, right? This is why you've come. Because somebody is ready to listen. Somebody is ready to listen about bringing all of these faiths together. One faith, celebrating the Creator. She kind of sits back in the seat and she looks hopeful. As some people bring you some food, some drink. That is why you've come, isn't
Food that was
it?
not made in a replicator, like is it real food?
You can see that there appears to be, in one area of this camp, like a small portable replicator, but there also appears to be
Sure.
fresh food being cooked. It's a bit of a mixture of the two.
It's been months. We've been on a ship months eating replicator of food. That must be good.
It's a bit of a mix. The meat is definitely fresh, but you think that some of the more carbohydrate-like food, like some of the potatoes and stuff and the root vegetables, have been replicated.
Okay, sure, yeah.
But she offers, please, eat. I have so much to tell you.
Can I get a better look
Starfleet-
at the medallion?
You can. I mean, she's wearing it quite openly.
Yeah.
You can ask her to look at it if you wish.
Yeah, I would like to.
Oh, this. And she takes it off and she hands it to you.
Thank you.
It was once the medallion of my faith. But after hearing the Creator, after understanding that so many different faiths are causing it so much pain and confusion because we should be united, that we are all right and we all come from the same, I decided to remove the iconography to symbolize the joining of all possibilities. It protects me, as it protected you when we came in. Please tell me that Starfleet has come to listen to us, to take us seriously, to make changes here in order to prevent these demon attacks?
We've certainly come to listen.
I think Rose kind of has closed off body language, probably like crossed arms, very skeptical of the whole thing, and doesn't eat or drink anything out of concern of there being something in the Kool-Aid, so to speak.
I mean, if you wish to check for that with your tricorder, which can detect the presence of chemicals and substances, if you wish.
I think she will.
Okay, go ahead. Make a insight and science here.
Okay, so it's wrong window.
In the middle of that, Silti's got like 2 of roast potatoes in his hands with this look like you can eat it.
You notice that Annalisa doesn't, as you scan with the tricorder, which isn't the easiest thing to hide, you realize that she does not protest. She doesn't even look concerned that you're scanning this. How many successes have you got there, Ro?
0.
0 successes. Would you like to succeed at cost?
Remind me what that is again?
So it means that either I take some threat or a complication happens, but you do get to succeed on the test.
Yeah, I'll do that. Complication.
Okay, I'm going to take some threat. I'm going to take some threat. You scan the food, and the first time the tricorder is picking up kind of strange energy anyway, which is similar to kind of what Siltec would have seen before these creatures appeared, but it's like right on the edges of your scan. So you have to kind of do it twice, which is a little embarrassing, but there doesn't appear to be any substances in the food that you wouldn't expect to be there. Okay. Nothing jumps out at you as being particularly high in a particular mineral or a foreign substance that you wouldn't expect to find in food. There's nothing that would indicate poison or the Kool-Aid exotic. So you can be fairly confident there is nothing in this food that would influence the behavior of anybody here. It is just that, fresh meat and some replicated vegetables.
Okay. I think Ro will put the tricorder away and start dishing up some food, but kind of awkwardly and probably not entirely convincingly play it off as like, technically Starfleet protocol, we're supposed to test food we're unfamiliar with. No offense.
Please, there is no offense taken. Many people are cautious. It's only right. You've also had a frightening experience within the hour, so I understand. If the food is not to your liking, though, we do have a member of our community who perhaps could cook you some home dishes or have them replicated for you.
Oh, this is
got a whole mouth of steak.
This is very good.
It's great. It's fantastic.
Party food can often be useful after a scare.
Yeah.
So she looks at you, Tristan. You said that Starfleet had come to listen.
Yes, we're certainly open to discussing what's happening here and attempting to diffuse it as best we can, come to some kind of resolution.
Well, the resolution is simple. We have to unite everybody here to one faith, the Creator's faith. We know that nobody likes being told that they're wrong, and nobody is entirely wrong, but all of the difference, it's causing pain to the Creator. Becoming one. The Creator's messenger told me this, yes.
The Creator's messenger?
We don't wish any harm to anybody. We just wish to bring everybody into one.
That's certainly a solution. Who is this
We are here to listen.
messenger?
Yes. Perhaps we listen to this messenger.
And you see her smile become even brighter. And she doesn't strike you as in that kind of like deluded happiness. She seems quite level, but she seems excited that somebody is listening. You get the feeling there was a lot of frustration behind this before you told her that you had come to listen. And she looks around and says, there is an angel. There is a place that we go, a holy place that we pray at. And sometimes if we do, the angel appears to speak to us. Surely you understand. And she looks over to you, Ro, and to you, Tristan, recognizing both of your heritages here. I don't know how the rest of you think or believe, and that is okay. But what I speak to you is the truth. I am not deluded. I'm not fanatical. I have spoken to an angel, the Creator's messenger.
Perhaps then, if you lead us to this angel, we can all speak on the same page. Just kind of looks to the rest of the crew, like with like a slight shrug, like I have no other idea what we should do here.
Yeah.
Ro very much has a look of like, there's so many things that I want to say, but I'm keeping my mouth shut so that I don't get demoted.
You want to speak to the angel?
Alira actually speaks up at this point and says yes, looking straight at her, and stands up and puts her plate to the side.
You are truly the most open-minded people we have yet to meet. All of the other officials in the city, even Jahal, we thought the Federation would at least listen. You were the first who actually want to hear the words themselves. The Creator has truly blessed us today. Please finish up your food if you wish, and prepare yourselves. Unfortunately, we do not have any Starfleet uniforms, officer. She looks at you, Illyria. But I do have some spare clothes if you wish to change your top to something less torn.
This fine.
As you wish. Some time passes. You see she goes off clearly to prepare for something and to gather a few other people. You can continue eating and drinking if you wish. What do you do in this kind of short period as she excuses herself to prepare and to speak to some people? As you're pretty much left kind of to yourselves. People check in to see if there's anything you need. Siltek, I imagine someone is bringing you a supply of roast potatoes as you seem to be just eating them all down very quickly.
No chance anyone, got a spare cowboy hat just lying around.
If you spend a point of momentum, you can find a cowboy hat.
No, I can't do that to us. I can't spend a point of momentum on a cowboy.
You give
All right,
me
I'll
a
spend
point of...
I'm,
Yeah, okay.
I'm okay with
I
that.
10 out
You
of
can't
10
do
need
that.
this to happen.
There is an older woman, maybe in her 50s, who appears to be part of this group. And she is the one who's coming along, consistently offering you food. And as the rest of you, I imagine, perhaps finish up, like Ro and Illyria kind of being done with your meals, she comes back without even saying anything to you, Siltek, every 10 minutes or so with another plate with a couple of roast potatoes on. And she walks up to you and she kind of taps you on the shoulder. Young man, I noticed that you rode very well in on that horse. It's very impressive. They are not the easiest beasts to handle, though I know that many here are well trained. My husband, bless him, didn't believe me in my cause when I heard the angel. So he's not here, but hopefully he will see sense. But I thought this would look very fitting on you. She kind of pinches your cheek a little bit in that kind of grandmotherly way that you have seen, Terrans have their family do. And she presents you this cowboy hat. And it's like, I think it would very much suit you. My husband says there's nothing more that you need when horse riding than to, keep the sun off your face and out of your eyes. And she, like a grandmother that you've seen your perhaps human compatriots have, kind of places it on your head and fixes it and says, there, I'll bring you some more roast potatoes. She kind
I
of...
would say that the ranch I was on, there was an old couple on that ranch in Montana, and I was kind of basically adopted almost by them because my mom and I didn't get along. So she's kind of recreating some of this true nurturing that I was grown with, and really the only kind of nurturing I got. So Siltek has to really steady himself and nods to her and just quietly, thank you, ma'am. I will ride with this hat with honor.
And she seems very pleased, like a beaming grandmother. This woman is clearly Trill. You can see the classic tattoos down the side, which have faded slightly over time. but she is very happy. You get the feeling she is a very grandmotherly type. She's found somebody in the group to dote on. She's tried it with all of you, but Siltek has now become the one. Illyria, she does occasionally kind of pester you if you're sure you don't want any more food, but she's a very sweet old lady essentially. But what do you say to each other? What is happening? What's going through your mind now as you're sat as this group with some of this food and drink? Just been told that you are going to go and potentially speak to an angel.
So I'll have been trying to get vibes off of everybody, anyone within this group that comes near us. So we're sort of trying to get some readings, see if everyone is as into this as Annalisa seems to be, or if there's like some fear, are people doing this because they're afraid? Like,
you get the sense that all of them are convinced of this, and not in a pressuring convinced in the way that if you tell someone something enough they will believe it, but you get the feeling of a genuine belief, the kind of belief that you only get when you see something for yourself. There is also a sense of great care among this community. You sense that from the people who are here offering you food and drink, comforts, wrappings to cover yourself from the heat of the sun, etc. There is a real sense of community, a sense of care. There is no sense of them trying to force you into believing something, but there is a sense here that they want to show you. Like, there's a sense of excitement at getting to share this with you in it from a very genuine place you would recognize.
I think Ro is got the tricorder out again, looking for any sort of like EM readings that would indicate like that the demons were some sort of holographic projection, or that their medallions have some sort of like electronic component that controls things like that to make it appear as if they're banishing them. She's very cynical, but she's trying to make it look like she's casually playing a game on her phone type of, body language and everything.
I mean, you see a few people that kind of...
That's all I'm doing.
You know that when you took the tricorder out to test the food, nobody seemed to react adversely to it, but still you kind of keep this quiet. Tristan, you're still holding Annalisa's amulet. She never took it back from you. So you can absolutely go ahead and scan that.
Yep.
Go ahead and make me I guess this would be either reason or insight with science.
Okay.
Is that for both
Does
of us,
Commander
or-
Odie tell us all about the general emotions of the people here? Do you report that? Is it unusual for everyone to feel the same way in a community, Commander Odie?
There's usually some people who perhaps might have doubts, have worries, have troubles. It's a little odd. I'm not going.
So how about Ro, if you make the test, and then Tristan can assist. So you'll be rolling 1d20, Tristan.
Okay.
The difficulty of this is 1,
what's
because you did have Malco manage to catch the tricorder readings from earlier, which you have the information for.
Okay.
So how many successes have we got here? 1 success, and did you get any, Tristan?
I'm having a problem with Fantasy Ground. Well, I'm not having. I've done something wrong, and I've right-clicked, and now I have like 1,000 d20s that it's trying to roll. So let me just throw those away there. There we go. And I will grab 1. There we go.
Oh. Okay. I'm gonna bank that threat, so nothing bad happened yet.
Okay. I'm sorry.
As you scan this, the amulet is just that. It appears to have been made of brass, and it has a leather cording that attaches it around the neck, and it is just that. It is a piece of hammered brass. Managing the energy readings here, there is like a low level of background energy. You're not quite sure what that is, but it appears to be consistent. If you walk around the camp a little bit, maybe to stretch your legs, this doesn't change. This is consistent with some of the readings that you had on your tricorders when you first arrived in the other location. This kind of background field that was always there. Could be an effect of the planet, something to do with the atmosphere. There are 100 things that could cause that kind of background level of energy, but you consider that to be a constant. As for any strange spikes, you don't see any here. And looking over Malco's scans that Siltech had sent over, the energy spike that you see before the beings arrive and then the dissipation once they do isn't consistent. And Tristan, you would know this, with the kind of thing that you would expect to see with hologram technology. For hologram technology, you'd expect there to be some kind of receiver, some kind of a holographic emitter, and none of those signals appear to be present in the data that you currently have. As far as you can tell, those creatures, and Malco, you would know this as well, having physically touched one, were physical and were present. And obviously Illyria currently carries the wound, which has been patched up, I imagine, between Malco and some of the camp residents here.
It felt physical to me when I threw one. They were creatures.
It was solid. You were able to grip it. It had weight to it.
Yep.
But between the two of you, you don't see any reason this would be a hologram.
If we're going to meet up with these angels tomorrow, and this community has no voice of doubt in these angels, I think we have to take some precautions. And keep in mind that this may be some sort of mental control they have over these people.
And I completely agree.
Then what if we each of us set an emergency beam out, get it set up in advance, have them keep lock on us the whole time. And if any one of us feels in any way that they are losing touch with themselves and their facilities, beam us all out.
I think that's wise.
Otherwise, can't we talk to an angel?
Yeah.
Malco, this would be an order that you would need. This would be an order that you would need to put through to the ship or
Sure.
the captain as the commanding officer
Sure.
of the away team. What do you say as you?
I will contact the ship and say, Command, we're planning to interface with something slightly unusual within the next 24 hours. If you could keep a lock on the 5 of us to make sure that, should we need it to be in an emergency situation to be beamed out, that would be possible.
And you get through to the transport room. If anyone is listening in on this transmission, Ro, you recognize the voice of this particular transporter operative. Yes, of course. Bear with me one moment. I will confirm that we have transporter lock. Ro, you notice your name is the first one to be noted for having transporter lock.
I think we'll chime in and be like, very good, crewman Callahan.
Thank you, Chief Petty Officer. There's like a... There's a tension there, because words were said, and perhaps demotions may have happened. As each of you get the call that the transporter lock on you is confirmed and is currently active.
I always figured that our little badges, like, they chirp, right? But they also probably give you information without making noise. So I imagine that as soon as we get lock, it vibrates, right? You just get a little vert, and that's you're ready to go.
Like old Bluetooth headsets that used to do the little buzz when they were connected. Yeah. But you now know you have transporter lock on you. Time passes. It's a good few hours. You are late into the night now. The nights here aren't cold and the sky is beautiful, especially this far out. You can see the stars. You can make out the haze in the atmosphere as light is hitting it. Off in the distance, it almost looks like some equivalent of the Northern Lights as these beautiful colors dance across the sky. You can see over further back to the colony proper, lights have gone on. There is color streaming even from this distance as celebrations continue. They are just constant here as people come and go and celebrate. Various festivals happen. It really is quite beautiful. It is here later in the dark. Perhaps some of you have had some rest, whether you slept in shifts, that Annalisa returns. You can see that she is dressed much more modestly now. She wears this white clothing that's quite loose-fitting, warm enough for the night air, but clearly enough to cover up. She seems quite calm. Well, I have spent some time in meditation, as have the few people accompanying us. We, of course, do not expect that that is what you have done, and that is fine. We understand that some of you may hold very different beliefs, but we would ask that if you come to speak to the angel, that you pray with us, or at least show some reverence if you do not believe. Either way, we will not force you into anything, but belief in seeing the angel has always made it more likely to appear. If you are ready.
How did they pray?
We will show you when we arrive, if that is okay. But there is nothing upsetting involved if any of you are worried.
I'm going to hand Annalisa back her medallion just before we set off.
Thank you. And she kind of takes it and places it on. You are led to a small mountain pass, and it overlooks another beautiful arid vista of this planet. Much like those that you've seen, it is truly beautiful. You can understand why people come here and spend a lot of time here, and why perhaps this planet has become the pilgrimage site for so many. You watch as Annalisa and her followers kneel and begin quiet prayer. There are no words spoken, there is just almost a pose of meditation. Whether or not you choose to join her in this is up to you.
Yeah,
Tristan will do like his. Yeah, Tristan's going to do like his regular meditation stuff that he does anyway. Sort of try and zen out a little bit.
Okay, you do so.
Desmond, enjoy. Like, I imagine that I grew up in between worlds and people, so I was always interested in other people's cultures. So I would say that Siltek would follow along as best he could, and just try to absorb as much of it as possible.
And you do so. You kneel just as they are, and they kneel. And notice they place the hands on the ground as they enter this almost meditative state. As I said, no words are spoken. There is no ceremony as such. Illyria, Malco, Ro, what are you doing as Tristan puts himself in a pose of meditation? Siltek emulates what Annalisa is doing. What are the three of you doing?
Rose standing very awkwardly a couple steps behind everybody else with her arms crossed, just watching, looking very uncomfortable.
I think Illyria's probably right by Ro, but she's not uncomfortable at all. But she is paying extremely close attention to what they are doing, what they are saying. She is paying attention to the environment to see if it is a trick, if it's not actually an angel, if they're being tricked. She's just very attentive to details, but she is very quiet, and she's standing in a respectful way. Like, she's not like her hands are down at her sides, but she's not involved.
Okay. And how about Malco? What are you doing? Are you joining the others in this kind of meditation? Are you scanning with your tricorder? Are you comfortable or uncomfortable? How are you feeling right now?
I don't think I don't think he's uncomfortable. I think at this point he would have at least knelt and kind of been towards the back of the group, but in a similar fashion to Illyria, just kind of kept an eye on everyone, just unsure of what was going on, because the entirety of this creature just disappearing is still very much stuck in his brain, because that doesn't necessarily happen all the time. So constantly thinking back to that.
Okay. 5 minutes pass. 10. 15. It's around 20 minutes into this silent meditation where all you can hear is the wind. The sound of some kind of small cricket-like creatures, perhaps, off in the distance. Running water somewhere further down the valley of this mountain pass. When suddenly all of you who have their eyes open are blinded by a bright flash of white-orange light. As where the mountain pass overlooks and kind of towards the end of the face of the side here, upon some stones that don't appear to have been purposely stepped but have just eroded that way naturally. This beam of light kind of almost explodes and radiates across the area. And it's in this moment, there is a warmth to it as well. For those of you with your eyes open, you are blinded for a second. There's that horrible retina burn where you have to blink a few times. And it's at this point that Annalisa and the others stand. And Tristan and Siltek, you feel this warmth. You can see the kind of orange glow that you get whenever you get a bright light in your face when your eyes are closed. And as you open your eyes, you see Annalisa is stood.
I would stand.
Palms forward, hands out as she bows her head in reverence. And as you look up at what is causing this light, there is a creature, humanoid in form, but completely indistinct in terms of its gender. It bears no hair that you can tell, it just radiates light. And you see large, flaming wings that adorn its back, stretching out further than even the creature's arms as it holds them out towards you. It's smiling, a passive smile, one that almost reminds you of the hopeful feeling you had when you landed. It lowers its arms, but keeps them almost as Annalisa does, with its palms outstretched. For those of you that perhaps have had religious backgrounds or knew people that did, it's a very classic pose. It looks about, and Illyria speaks. Messenger, we have brought those who wish to speak to you, who wish to hear the Creator's words from your lips. And she kind of turns to look back at all of you. As this being turns its head, and you can see these bright eyes flaming with this soft, warm glow as it smiles slightly wider towards you, but doesn't speak.
What kind of vibes am I getting off this thing? I need to know.
Yeah.
The vibes that you're getting.
Yeah, go empath.
Yeah.
Do you want to roll for this, or do you just want to know top line, baseline feelings?
I'll roll. I'll roll to sort of if I can get anything else. Yeah.
Okay, so this is going to be Insight and Command, difficulty 2.
Okay.
Everyone just looking to Commander Odie, just waiting.
Yeah. Right. This feels very important. So I don't know if I would like. I may want to use one of my 2 points of determination for this. Is that something I can do?
Yes.
It can, yeah. So you can choose to introduce an element to the story that's quite significant, that perhaps maybe makes this easier for you. You can use it till after you've rolled to re-roll, or you can use it to gain a dice that's already rolled 2 successes.
Ooh. Okay. What's the difficulty on this looking like?
Difficulty 2.
Okay, so I can choose to basically just succeed it.
Which of your values are you calling on here to spend that determination?
I am using. I think it's either between everyone has a story and every story is important in wanting to understand what message it is that this.
Yeah, that one,
angel is
absolutely that one.
imparting. Yeah. I just basically want the truth of what this thing wants, basically. Yeah. So I'll roll, I guess, and
yeah,
I'm going to take the two successes already.
Okay.
But we'll see if we get any momentum. Momentum. There you go. Okay. Yep. Another 2 momentum, I guess.
Okay, so you're up to 5 momentum in your momentum pool now. As you try to sense what it is, you see the creature turn its head to you, as if it's aware. And it looks at you, and you can see these soft glowing eyes. They're not threatening in the slightest. They're very passive, very calming, almost like watching firelight. Like a nice, comfortable campfire or the flicker of a candle flame. As you start to get this feeling vast, alien, it reminds you of the last mind that you touched back on a planet wrapped in darkness only a week ago. Hundreds of voices, chaos, confusion. Exactly the same feeling that you had when you tried to sense the demons earlier. Calling out, but now they are more focused. You can listen in to some of these voices. What am I? What am I? What is true? What is real? Why do they believe this? Why do they believe that? Why do they not believe the other? Why are there so many? Are they wrong? No, they must be right, but they say they are right. These kind of conflicting thoughts, these questions, you notice are about various faiths. You start to hear the names of some Betazoid deities mentioned. And then the mention of the prophets from the Bajoran faith. Mentions of Vulcan customs, Trill customs, Denoblian customs, Tellarites. All of these questions. It almost reminds you of somebody who is confused. It's the kind of feeling that you would get from a person who perhaps had to make a choice between 3 things that they enjoyed. And they're trying to weigh up all the options about why this one is good, why this one is bad. Trying to find some kind of semblance of accuracy that it can't put its finger on. Forever making lists of reasons why something is good and bad or wrong and right. And why does this believe this and this believe that? And it's constant and continuous. And there is so much turmoil that you can feel with this. It's confusing, it's churning, and it's one entity. You are sure of it. These thousands of voices are all a single entity's thoughts, split, fractured into all of these passing moments of doubt and worry and fear and confusion. Would you like to spend any momentum at all? To discover more.
Oh. We've got 5. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. As you're listening to this and you start to get a sense of just how vast this thing is. So vast that if you imagine it like looking at a map, you can't see the edges. And something else comes back into your mind a conversation that you had with an entity where it said, "We felt another like us. Not us, but like us." And you wonder if perhaps this is the creature that the Krillin mind spoke to you of. That it sensed as its ships rushed past perhaps this place before landing on the planets that you all visited a few weeks ago. This is what you sense and what you are reminded of. What does everybody else do? How about you, Ro? As this angel apparently has appeared.
Yeah, so thanks to a wild magic surge, Ro is suddenly remembering something from her orb experience that she's usually very closed off about and doesn't like to think about, but is having a very much like deja vu moment where she's realizing, oh, this is something I actually saw and it made no sense until now. And the following scene of the vision, she saw herself touching ice and that causing her to die horribly. So right now, Ro is looking around and making sure there's no ice nearby, and is very terrified by the thought of ice touching her.
You look around in that almost like I imagine in like a second sense of panic of ice, and you see none. No, logically, this climate is too warm to have polar caps, at least in this area. There is no way that ice could get out here short of it being replicated, and there is no replicator here. But it still weighs in the back of your mind.
I think Ro's still is a little twitchy and still looking around everywhere, even though it's completely irrational.
This
creature, she's distracted a little bit.
Yeah, this angel looks at you, Tristan, and says, "You are gifted. Perhaps you too now understand. But the rest, I'm the messenger of the Creator. You came to speak with me, so speak." And the voice itself is very welcoming, it's very calming. The light that it is bathing you in is almost warming to the skin. And it waits. And Annalisa looks at all of you expectantly, waiting.
I don't know how to let everyone else know what I've just experienced in a subtle way.
Do you have the ability to communicate telepathically with other people?
I do, but I believe they have to be either a telepath themselves or my Imzadi, which is someone I've made like a soulmate connection with, so I don't think that's anyone here.
Fortunately not.
Would I be able to subtly begin to type out some information
Yes.
onto a tricorder?
You absolutely can.
Yeah.
Malco, you are the ship's doctor. You are the one that saw this creature literally disappear within your grasp. And now you are staring at what Annalise claims to be an angel, this being of light and fiery wings. What are you doing in this moment as the creature turns its head to you? The warm, flickering light of the eyes meeting yours.
I think at this point he would have tried to at some point bring out the tricorder and maybe try to start scanning it to get a better idea of what it might be.
Okay, I'm not even going to make you roll for this. You scan, and you're getting exactly the same energy readings as you were when you scanned for the demon. Exactly the same. And it is energy is what you're looking at. Although there is matter here, this thing definitely has a physical form like that demon did. It's hard to pinpoint what that is because it's energy. It is pure energy given form is what you're looking at. Just as you were with the demons.
And then I think
you've been muted, Max.
visual range of Illyria and Ro, so they could see what might potentially be on it.
I think we missed a bit of that. Your audio cut out.
Oh, sorry. He was going to try and subtly kind of set it somewhere so that both Ro and Illyria could see it, since they're behind him.
You can quite easily do that. You can maybe swing it across and kind of shift it to your back where they can then see the screen. And Ro and Illyria, you can both see, if you had reviewed the data from earlier, you're looking at the same energy signal as you had when you saw the demon creatures. Exactly the same. Pure energy given physical form.
Okay.
Okay. Jordan needs to remember something. Did they say that the little demon dudes were from the creator?
No, they said that ever since the creator had come out and expressed being in pain, in this kind of confusion, that over all of these different ideals, wanting to unify everybody as one, these demon attacks had begun and had increased.
Okay.
With that scan, does it look like this creature has any sort of photonic type readings on it? Because energy being given physical form is a lot like how holograms work, or even replicators for that matter. Do we see any similarities to those types of energy readings?
You do to some degree because the amount of light that is being emitted. But again, you detect no presence of a receiver or of a holographic emitter. And for the most part, can conclude that this thing is not a hologram. If it is technology that has never been seen before.
Okay.
I think Illyria has been standing there wanting to say something, but held back by her anxieties in speaking and in confrontation. But I think that she finally starts to speak up, and the first question she asks is, if speak for the creator, why does the creator allow this? And she gestures at both her face and her shirt. Like, in a very honest way. She's not trying to be rude or disrespectful.
The creator is troubled by the lack of unity, troubled deeply by what is happening. When the creator is troubled, these things appear. It is what happens. It is what happens when a god cannot truly exert its power. Devils and demons come, try to harm people. The creator is sorry that you have suffered. And you see this angel takes on this motion of sadness, and you feel it as it speaks to you, as the warmth of the glow kind of dims, as it expresses this sadness that you have been harmed. The creator wishes no harm. It only wishes for unity. and you feel the warmth come back again.
About what
Sure,
time
Rose, do
would you
something.
say that the creator began to become concerned? This seems like a recent development. Is that fair?
The creator has existed for long.
Of
The
course.
creator is...
However, these demon attacks and these other recent events happened recently, yes?
Yes, it is recently that the creator has become unsure. So many people, so many thoughts.
Yeah, I'm starting to go through security logs, if I can get into them, for this planet, about what could have maybe entered the atmosphere, big huge energy surge, anything like that that could have happened over the last couple weeks.
Aside from these demon attacks happening, not even in the city plaza, there have been reports. Small groups of individual people have reported sighting, and they come in differently. For some of the Earth religious cultures, they are reported as devils. For some other cultures, but they all seem to harken back to the idea of a devil or a demon, some sort of evil creature that's considered an ill omen in
And
any
all
of the cultures.
properly flavored to match with whatever the belief is of the people who are seeing them.
To some degree, people note that it wasn't quite right in one place, or perhaps
Sure.
in groups of people who are of mixed faith, it appeared as a strange amalgamation. Like I said, they are very small individual cases. And well over half of these have been reported by this group, who you see actually seem to begin making reports after the first instances of this. So clearly the reports are correct in that they have been born out of some reaction to something happening.
So, I think at this point, Rose reached a point of like, okay, I'm at my limit of weird religious stuff happening. And just kind of takes a step forward and talks directly to the angel. It's all right. So let me make sure I'm getting this straight. So, you or the thing, deity, whatever you're representing, is having an existential crisis about religion and summoning, for lack of a better term, demons as a result. Am I understanding that right?
The creator is troubled, confused.
Right. So, like I said, existential crisis. Has the creator considered therapy or some sort of divine booze? Both of those are great options. I went through both when I had similar experiences with religion.
You too suffer fear and confusion, child. There is no ice here, but there is ice to come, darkness of a storm that is just the first of many terrible things. The first
Yes.
of many which will lead to the end times.
Right.
And those
You have
are
no
horrifying, and I don't like to think about them, but we're talking about your crisis, not mine.
They are one and the same. There is no
Well, see-
ice here, but it is coming in a storm of darkness and evil.
See, my therapist told me, because I did something similar, they said I was projecting, and that was a bad thing. So I'm trying to help you out here. Though I am extremely concerned about the ice. Not gonna lie.
You have seen things, Ro Elena, as it reads your name back to you, despite having never uttered it in this conversation. There are
Rose
people-
not creeped out by that at all.
On this planet that believe in your prophet. One of many things that is different from others, but the same in many ways. If people unite, you should not need to fear the ice that blows in the storm, But if not, that is how things may end.
Okay, that's a way to
Doc-
look at it.
Malco, as the angel speaks your name, moving from you, Ro, you are the one that leads this group. You are the one who is reasoned with understanding. I offer you a gift to prove to the non-believers here that the Creator is true and the Creator is the only one. And the angel begins to speak, Malco, about an experience that you had in Starfleet that nobody in this group is aware of. Perhaps a key event within your career that nobody here you've ever told that story to. Tell me, what is that event? What is that story? What happened that this creature is somehow narrating to you in exact detail? I think you're muted again,
Malco. Oh, there you go. Okay. So Malco was tasked with helping to stop the spread of a plague that had hit a small town, and this was his first major test of some of his medical experience, but he lost a lot of people, and that was very hard on him and kind of forced him to want to be so particular and as perfect as possible, and knowing as many things as he could, medical procedures as he could, to make sure that something like that didn't happen again.
And this being, this angel, recites this back to you in great detail over the next perhaps 5 minutes, even detailing a particular patient, perhaps someone that you grew close to during this time who sadly you lost. Talking about very light-hearted but very personal moments that you had never shared with anybody, as it recants these in detail to you. You are the one with the logical mind. There is only one way that the Creator could know this, to tell me, to prove to you the truth. A storm is coming. A storm that will herald the beginning of what many of you may call an apocalypse. And it lists a few other words in various languages that all have a similar connotation: end times, apocalypse, these kind of thoughts and feelings. Those of you that speak other languages will recognize these. And it finally looks back at you, Ro. You do not have to believe the Creator is the one. You only have to accept. Perhaps the ice can be thawed before it reaches you. A storm is coming, and the light vanishes. The angel is gone. And Annalise is stood there, mouth agape, eyes wide. You can see the panic. All of you recognize it, the panic beginning to rise in her face. A storm is coming? You see, she looks up at the sky. I don't see any clouds. The Creator is always literal in what they tell us, but there is no... Surely you can look. She kind of points at a tricorder. There is no storm.
Tricorder, weather, right? Right. Oh. Clear and sunny for 3 days.
As you begin to lift the tricorder, Malco, your communicator goes. Lieutenant Commander Malco, this is the captain. You need to get back to the main colony immediately. With your location, you are maybe a few hours out. We are detecting a large energy storm moving towards the main colony. This is far faster than any natural storm that we have on record. We need to get to the colony, and you need to ensure that everybody is safe. Anybody who is particularly vulnerable should be beamed back aboard the ship. We do not have much room, but we can take some. Everybody else should be advised to find shelter.
I'm going to mount up and ride as fast and give everyone a nod that I'm going to ride as fast as I can, but I'm going to mount up and ride as fast as I can toward the colony to try and give as much warning as possible.
We are in contact with those within the colony. We are passing on information as it comes in, but it may not be safe.
So just by horseback on this road, we've got communicators, right?
We do not know how safe it is to beam anybody aboard, so when you get back to the colony, ensure people are safe, and we will reassess if we can have the vulnerable beamed aboard here. Otherwise, keep yourself safe. I believe this is what humans may call a maelstrom of wind and something else.
Laura, you well enough to rest? You feel well enough to ride, Alaria?
Yes. And she'll hop up onto Abigail and wait, that was her name, right?
Yeah.
I forgot already. Okay.
Yeah,
She'll hop back up there hesitantly, but get going.
Awesome. As you get back up and kind of adjust, you see Abigail rears her head towards your hand as if trying to get you to pat her again. Some odd sign of horse affection.
I'll pat her. I think that we're best friends now.
Yep.
I think Alira says that out loud, very shocked and confused.
Does anyone say anything to Annalise, who is there, eyes wide in a panic?
I would say at this point, yeah, Malco looks to her and says, please tell me you have some sort of strong shelter around here.
There is the caverns in the hillside where we first found you. We were driven out of those by the demons, but I suppose the Creator will protect us if we have to take shelter there.
Are they strong, though? Do you believe them to be strong?
They run deep into the hillside here. The Creator will protect us. We would not have been given this warning otherwise.
Right.
You should go. Tell the people in the city. Make them believe what you have seen. You do believe, don't you?
Still takes his whistling.
Ro just kind of awkwardly fidgets for a second and goes, sorry your god's having an existential crisis, and starts riding the horse away.
Annalise just kind of looked startled and confused as she rears up her own horse and then rushes away, you imagine, to her colony.
All right. And we rush back to ours.
As we take a break here, I want to say a huge welcome to the Raiders from Roleplayers coming in with a party of 28. Hello, thank you so much for joining us for Star Trek. Sorry, we're in the middle of a kind of tense moment there, so let's welcome in. We hope you enjoy yourselves as we currently deal with our crew here, being confronted so far with angels and demons, and are now making their way back. The storm that was just prophesied begins to encroach upon the capital. You make your way back to the central colony here, and there is panic. Clearly, people have been warned. There are people rushing to and from buildings. There are people calling out, offering shelter. There is panic. But what I want to know is on your ride here, what each of your thoughts were. And I want to start with you, Malco. Obviously, everything that happened, having an event that nobody here knew about, recited back to you in great detail by this angelic being. What are Malc's thoughts as you begin to ride towards the colony where this maelstrom storm is approaching?
He's very much taken aback at such personal information being dispersed out to everyone there, but he's still, there's some level of, he does believe, because clearly he's seen something or multiple things, but there's still circumstances around those events that are still very confusing to him, and he's still unsure of how they happened, but knows that they have. So a lot of confusion, yeah.
And Ro, as you were the first to dart off from this area of prayer, what are your thoughts on what happened as this creature seemed to address the orb experience that you had not told it directly, and even featured the ice, which you saw so prominently bringing about such a terrible event?
I think Ro is feeling very underprepared and out of her element. Sort of like, I am a pilot. I am a Starfleet, chief. This is not my my area of expertise at all, and so feeling very sort of uncomfortable, a little less confident than normal. But it is also going like, okay, well, I can't really relate to this on a religious or spiritual level, but like, I've gone through my fair share of trauma, and this thing seems to be traumatized in some way. So she's trying to figure out sort of any way that she could help it potentially.
Okay. So we have Al coming back in a state of belief, but confused about what that belief is. Ro coming back, wishing really nothing more than to try and help whatever this entity is. What are Illyria's thoughts after she has been attacked by demons, has spoken and questioned an angel, and has now heard the prophecy of this storm just before it happened?
I think, Illyria is a very internal person. She's extremely introverted. She finds peace within herself. And so from the very beginning, her internal balance and internal control has almost been taken from her by these overwhelming external things that have caused internal emotions. So the peacefulness when we landed on the planet, the memory that was caused by the demon, the overwhelming emotion, like almost empathic sensation between her and this creature, and then to top it all off, to have them predict something that's about to happen. She's very off kilter and very she's very confused. She's never been religious. It's not been something that's been very delved into either in her family. I mean, she's lived in space the whole time. Technology has primarily been the thing. And yet, because there's been this influence with her internal self, she almost feels drawn to it, and it's kind of scary. Coming from a person who does not experience these kinds of things and is not familiar with anything religious, to be thrown into an extremely religious situation, and yet part of her's curious and part of her almost wants to just join.
Okay. So interesting, we have Illyria here who's dealing with a lot of conflicting emotions. Where is Siltek at here? Obviously, you are very used to being in a strange place, perhaps with customs and people that you are not used to ever since growing up on Earth after leaving Cardassia with your mother. Where does Siltek feel about all of this? Where's he at?
Siltek's on a horse, happy, a nice horse named Desmond, riding the countryside, towards evening, and he gets to also meet amazing people and do amazing things. And I think he's just having a good time. I think he's just kind of taking it as like, it's like, okay, there's something I don't understand. That's why I joined Starfleet, for things that I do not understand. There are people in danger. I'm riding at full speed to them on horseback, and I'm going to do my best to help them. So I think he's just fully in the moment. He doesn't have any time to spend taking the thing apart. He's like, I'm a cowboy, and I'm going to go save some people. And that's where he is right now.
I like that. I like that Siltek, oddly enough, in this strange situation, has found lots of things that he's very familiar with. The familiarity of new experiences, the horse riding, being in a position to help people. I kind of like that you've kind of got the opposite of a lot of people here. Where is Tristan at? Because obviously this is now the second time that you felt such a vast consciousness.
Yeah, and I assume that after basically spending a pretty much a week being strapped to an antenna talking to the other one, that is kind of, it's lost a little bit of the mystery for him in some ways. So this is less of a, for him it's less of a religious experience or something unknown and more of a, right, I need to analyze, what does this mean? How is this entity, whatever it is, how is it doing what it appears to be doing? Because Tristan doesn't for 1 second believe that this is a prediction. Tristan is convinced that this is, whatever this is, causing this storm. And is trying to work out exactly how it knows what it seems to know about his crewmates, whether or not that's empathic or telepathic abilities, whether or not that's, because it seems to be entirely energy based. He's going through his head of like, is this able to tap into like Starfleet records? Is this able to, what is this thing capable of? If it's just pure energy, what is it doing? And yeah, he's just, his brain is like going a mile a minute at the moment, trying to work out all the different variables of what's happening.
I like it though. I like that he's taking his previous experience and kind of trying to apply that here with the Krillin mind, especially since the Krillin mind had mentioned to you that it sensed other beings like itself, not itself, but like it. And obviously it has been long known in Starfleet history that there are beings of varying telepathic natures that exist, with or without form. So this is what crosses your mind as you begin to ride. And eventually you find yourselves back in the plaza. You manage to return the horses to the Vulcan gentleman that loaned them to you, and he assures you that he has safety. You can already see him bringing in other horses into an indoor enclosure. But there is absolute panic in the streets. There are people worrying. You can see the storm now in the distance as it begins to approach. It's dark. You can already feel the wind picking up here to levels that are uncomfortable for how still far away the storm is to some degree. And you can see that there is lightning. There is flashes of what look like fire in the sky. But the temperature is colder, Ro. Before, when you calmed yourself about the ice, thinking,
Great.
It's too temperate here for that, you can start to feel the temperature drop as this comes forward. And although you can see fire in the sky off in the distance, there is a haze, and you can't tell if it's smoke, clouds, wind, or snow. But there is something else in the air in the distance that approaches as the temperature drops. And the storm in the background, the skies grow this horrible shade of off orange grey. And as it gets closer, you can pick out something within the clouds as the winds pick up. People are calling out for cover. You can see a few people, most notably a Klingon man who is standing. He has a bat'leth at the ready as he stands close to the center of the plaza. As he is ordering perhaps some of the younger pilgrims here, some of the children and the teenagers to get to safety. You see a few other people, some Andorians, who, despite kind of their argumentative nature, try to pull him away from where he is stood towards a shelter, as he shakes them off and says, "No. Kales will protect me if my heart is pure, and I will defend the land of my god." You can see people are trying to put up barricades. There are a few people who appear to be calling out, looking for other people, as people are bustling in places. In this moment, what do all of you do? As you can see the chaos around you, plenty of people needing help, plenty of people who are stubborn enough to not seek shelter, like this Klingon that you see not far from you, who, judging by the energy levels of the storm, the readings that you've been given by the ship, it is too dangerous to beam you or anybody else out. But staying in this storm's path, exposed outside, without shelter, will tear whatever's out here apart.
I would say Siltek is scanning for like kids or other people on the outsets that might need help getting to safety. And once that's taken care of, or should there be none, I will wait until the last minute with this Klingon, but if he won't take shelter towards the end, Siltek's is going to walk up behind him and just stun him and drag him to safety.
Okay. What is Illyria doing in this chaos?
Oh, she is so overwhelmed. Like, she's used to dealing with chaos, but not this kind of chaos. Like, space. You're enclosed in metal. There's no... I mean, there might be issues, but they're all outside. So I think that she is scanning. Quite frankly, she doesn't know what to do. This is out of her territory. So I think that she's kind of almost frozen, and she's going to watch her crew members. And if any of my friends look like they could use help, she will go help them because she doesn't know what purpose to take. So she's going to follow.
Okay. And Tristan, what are you doing here in this moment as the chaos happens, the storm is approaching? Are there any preparations you want to make? Anything you want to help with here?
Yeah, I mean, if I get that sense from Illyria that she's having a bit of a struggle moment of not knowing what to do, then I will step in and I'll be like, right, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this, and we can go from basically from place to place, tricorder, empath stuff on, sensing for people in distress, sensing for people who may not be secure, get them to safety, and just do that for as many places as we can.
Okay. And how about Ro? What does Ro want to do in this moment, as you have maybe 5 minutes, 10 at most, before the storm hits and you need to be in shelter?
So, Ro, feeling that it's starting to get cold and that ice might actually be a possibility, taps her communicator and says, "Chief Ro to Crewman Callahan." And assuming he picks up, goes, "Hey, do you want off my shit list?"
I didn't know I was on a... Is this a trick question, Chief Petty Officer? The situation is pretty dire at the moment, and there is crackling as things begin to break up, but...
I was like, all right, just shut up. Listen to me. Teleport me down an environmental suit. And I will let the whole not teleporting the Commander Odie to the right spot thing slide.
The captain has forbidden the use of the transporters, Chief Petty Officer. I'm so sorry, and I'm going to spend 2 points of threat here from earlier complications. It's like, I know you demoted me, but if I do this, I'm not going to be on the ship. I have very much respect for you, Chief Petty Officer, but it's the captain's orders. I'm sorry. It might not even survive the transport. And you hear the
Right,
communication begin to crackle as he's continuously apologizing for not doing what you've told him despite his orders, until just like the interference is so much that the connection is gone.
I was gonna say Ro probably just cuts him off and ends the transmission in the middle of his apologizing.
We pan to a quick moment where aboard the ship, despite this, he is still apologizing down the communicator, not realizing that it was cut. Pan back. And last but not least,
Yeah.
Malco. What do you do to prepare in the moments of the storm?
I think he's going to be in a very similar mindset to Tristan and Alira, and just do his best. Try to not go to the same locations that they are, but move people that need the assistance into any sort of shelter that feels sturdy enough to weather what is coming, because this sounds extremely dangerous.
Okay, well, we will find out in our next Star Trek session what happens when the storm hits, which is going to be a couple of weeks from now, because the next 2 weeks in this slot with this wonderful group of people, we are going to be doing a bit of a preview, an exclusive of the upcoming announced but not yet released Dishonored role-playing game made by Modiphius Entertainment. So we will be back to our normal Star Trek scheduling, not this week, not the next week, but the week after that. So join us then to see the rest of this adventure, but definitely tune in next week to see the first of a 2-part preview of the Dishonored RPG, which is going to be a whole load of fun. Let's go around, see how everyone's doing, and tell us where you can find you on the internet. Let's go the other way this time. Max, how are you doing after that session, and where can we find you?
I am very concerned still, like I was the session before, but I'm very excited. And you can all find me at MaximusJ07 on Twitter and Twitch here. I stream occasionally, and I also talk about DTRPGs and just various, movies, TV, anything and everything. So you can come hang out and say hi. Or you could also catch me maybe sometimes doing Just Dance on my stream, because I'm that kind of person. So I hope to see you all there, and I cannot wait for Dishonored, but also coming back to this.
I've left you guys on a bit of a cliffhanger there, so I'm very sorry about that. But moving around to the wonderful Raven, how was tonight for you?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was such a great session. Thank you for DMing that. Yeah, it was great. I had a good time, and as for where you can find me, I'm on Twitter at the Raven, like it says below my face here, and then on Twitch, if you just take the V part off, that's me on Twitch as well, and I'll be on tonight at 7 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for a community one-shot, actually with Noir Enigma, who's been doing some stuff over here as well. He's going to be DMing a one-shot over there, so it should be pretty fun.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to see what happens next week, but also how Ro deals with the rest of this adventure.
Yes.
Jordan, how are you doing tonight? Illyria has really been through the ringer today.
Oh man, I mean, but it was about time. We gotta break out of that shell somehow. It's so good. Yeah, I'm gonna be rewatching all of these episodes in between when we come back to it, because I cannot wait to get back, but I'm also uber excited to do the Dishonored stuff. But I am Jordan. You can find me at Sassy with Sander. Wow, Twitter. Sassy with Sander on Twitter. You can find me Sassy with Sander on YouTube doing music. I am on Jam Game Streams, which is a streaming channel where we play video games and all sorts of fun stuff. And also, I am Adina on Fate FM Cast. So check out my Twitter and follow on there.
And moving around to somebody who's had probably the best day in this adventure out of everybody so far, with the horse riding. How are you doing, Aram?
Yeah, Celtic was happy. Today's a good day. He got to be like, all right, well, this is exactly where I need to be right now, doing what I need to do. It was perfect. So that was excellent. And if anyone wants to see other things I'm working on, I have 2 D&D shows called God's Fall and Rise of the Demigods. I post about those things and more on Twitter at Vartian.
Awesome. And last but definitely not least, Darby, how is that for you? Tristan's really having a time of it recently, isn't he?
He is. He seems to be just connecting with all sorts of strange planet-sized, potentially, life forms. I don't know. There's a lot going on. This is a lot. I can't wait to find out what happens. This is so cool. But I'm really, really excited for Dishonored, so I can't wait for that. And yeah, people can find me. Wait. Down somewhere there.
There you
go. There we go. Wait, no, I'm down there. At Pixel Justice. Everything's on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm Virginia. I am your game master for tonight, and I am the person who gets to captain this wonderful crew. You can find me at Tabletop Horde. I usually help make, play, and publish tabletop RPGs. I actually work for Modifius, who make this game and the Dishonored game, which I actually line manage. So it's going to be a whole ton of fun because I've spent nothing but the last few weeks reading the books. It's going to be so much fun to actually get to play it and show it to a bunch of people. But you can find me at Tabletop Horde on Twitter, where I post my schedule. I also stream every other Monday and every Wednesday over on my Twitch channel, mostly doing video games at the moment. A few shout outs before we go tonight. Massive shout out to the wonderful Darby, who did all of the character art for the show here. And don't forget that if you want to support all of the cast here at Encounter Roleplay, you can go out and check out the Patreon. All of that goes to helping produce all of the wonderful stuff you see here, and also going towards paying the cast here for their wonderful, wonderful entertainment that they provide us all. Last but not least, our wonderful sponsors Modifius for this game, and all of the wonderful sponsors here at Encounter Roleplay like Fantasy Grounds and World Anvil. Massive, massive thank you to them. They help make all of these things possible. And a reminder that if you want to play some Star Trek, you can pick this up from Modifius. If you're watching this back on the YouTube, thank you so much for making it this far. And don't forget that you can check out all of the Encounter Roleplay shows over on the YouTube channel. And if that just isn't enough, if that isn't enough to get you going with more Encounter Roleplay, awesome roleplay content, go and check out the Discord and join the community there, where we all hang out and everyone talks about the shows. It's the best place to be, especially if you've got some theories on what's going on. I would love to see what people think is happening on the planet of Ashgrave IV. So definitely go check out the Discord, join the community. And very, very much last but not least, so Illyria was the winner of the poll for who gets a point of momentum. So make sure you add that to your sheet. She's got some momentum. Clearly the chat and the full people here thinks that she needs that little bit of get going for the next Star Trek session. Don't go anywhere after this stream ends, because coming up next is the amazing Haunting of Seawall Orphanage run by the incredible Jonathan Fry. You do not want to miss it. So take the next few minutes to go get snacks and get comfy before returning for that incredible show. For all of us here, we will see you next week for that sneak peek reveal of Dishonored. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and stick around for more awesome RPG stuff happening next. See you next week, friends.
everyone. It's me again. I am feeling the hype. What an episode of Star Trek that was. And now we're getting ready for the spook